Hey everyone, and welcome back to Progress America Unfiltered. I'm Tyler, and I'm here with Linda today, and we're going to talk to you about America's favorite word, debt. Debt ceiling negotiations are coming this way, and Linda wants to give us the scoop on what we need to know, what Kevin McCarthy is saying he wants to do, and what we can expect from House Republicans. So to start, Linda, do you want to give a brief overview of the debt ceiling for those who might not know what the debt ceiling is or what it means, because we talk about it constantly?
Sure. So the debt ceiling, I guess the closest equivalent would be it's kind of paying off the national credit card. It's not about any new spending. It's just about paying for what Congress has already authorized. And because of that, it's generally historically been seen as a very routine thing to do. Republicans happily voted to do it 3 times under Donald Trump. But for some reason, whenever there's a Democrat in the White House, they decide to make a big issue out of it. So we saw this happen under Obama. And really, we got close to some very catastrophic situations there. And then, of course, they're planning to do it again under Biden to tell the whole world, guess what? The United States is going to go into default and nobody should trust our currency because we don't pay our bills. That's what Republicans want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, like you were saying, the debt ceiling is important. It helps us pay for the things we've already promised to pay for, including important social programs and our social infrastructure, including debts to other nations. So this is not some new big thing, even though Republicans like to make it seem like it is every year. So I have heard, and I haven't taken a look at it, but I've heard that Kevin McCarthy just released his plans for the debt ceiling negotiations that are about to happen. So can you tell us what is it that our least favorite Speaker of the House is trying to do with these debt ceiling negotiations?
Yeah, so Republicans went months without releasing a plan. They basically took a hostage and didn't want to say even what their ransom demands were. But this week, they finally released a plan. And among other things, it would drastically cut spending for all discretionary federal programs. And so that might not sound like that big of a deal. They use this technical DC term discretionary, but it's actually a huge deal because that's money for programs for veterans, for poor, for children, for all kinds of people. And it's also the money that government agencies need to function. And so, just as one example, in the Social Security Administration, it would stop them from being able to administer the program effectively. There would be more closed offices, longer wait times, really long waits at the 1-800 number, and people who are trying to apply for disability benefits, which those are earned with every paycheck, just like retirement benefits, would face wait times of even more months, potentially years, and so that more people will die, go bankrupt, get sicker while they're waiting to qualify for disability benefits. And I bring up that example because Republicans have been saying over and over again, oh, we're not going to touch Social Security and Medicare. That's just Democratic propaganda. Well, guess what? This proposal absolutely touches Social Security and hurts Social Security beneficiaries by making it much harder to access the benefits that the American people earn.
Yeah, absolutely. And time again, we hear this rhetoric from them saying, we're not going to touch it. We're not going to touch it. Meanwhile, their hands are stuck in the cookie jar. So it's just, do watch what they're doing. Don't watch what they're saying. And even Kevin McCarthy, CNBC reported that, Kevin McCarthy was arguing that the measures to cut Social Security and things like that from federal spending will force more people in the workplace to pay for it, which is just not true. People in the workforce pay for it every day. It's in every paycheck. It's on that line. But the people who aren't paying for it are the billionaires, are the corporations who pay nothing in taxes and pay nothing into these systems, which is why we're always facing these, funding shortfalls. If everyone was paying their fair share, we wouldn't have this issue. So it's so frustrating to hear them do this rhetoric over and over again.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And another centerpiece of this Republican plan is adding work requirements to Medicaid. And so basically, they're saying that, oh, this will somehow help the economy because we're going to send a lot of people back to work. But the truth is that there's just not a lot of people out there who are sitting at home thinking, gosh, I could get a job, but I would rather just, collect Medicaid and live in poverty, right? People like having money. And if they can work and earn money, they generally want to do it. But what these Medicaid work requirements would do is throw people off the program for not filling out the right paperwork. So that's their real goal, is just to be cruel and to deny people access to the government programs that they need.
We hate that. And so what happens, which we know what happens. So if Republicans do what we think they're going to do, which is stall, play political games, and do everything they can to hold the national debt hostage, the nation is at risk of defaulting on our national debt, which would be very, very bad. Hasn't happened, probably won't happen because it is so bad. But it's this threat that they use to hang over our heads. And the threat of financial collapse and catastrophe continues to be used as a political pawn, which is really disheartening. So I do wonder, Linda, do you have any thoughts on how House Democrats and congressional Democrats can respond to this kind of political partisanship and games from Republicans like McCarthy?
Yeah, so the only answer is just we're not going to negotiate with economic terrorists. So Democrats should not be the ones that blink. They should say the only thing that we'll accept is a clean debt limit, which just means a routine raising of it, like they did for 3 times under Trump, with no cuts to any government programs. Because once you start negotiating with hostage takers, you're just in an incredibly dangerous place where they're just going to keep raising the ransom. And Kevin McCarthy can't even control his own caucus. We've seen that time and time again. And so even if he wanted to negotiate, he's not actually capable. And so the thing that Democrats need to say is that the only thing that's acceptable is to bring a debt limit to the floor, an increase, and pass it with a mix of votes from Democrats and from the few semi-sensible Republicans that still exist in D.C. And unfortunately, most Democrats, I should say, are united around this response that the only thing that we'll vote for is a clean debt limit. But there is a small group, the quote unquote problem solvers, that's a mix of Republicans and Democrats, and they want to negotiate with the economic terrorists. And what they want to offer them in a proposal that came out this week is a closed door commission that's designed to cut Social Security, Medicare, and other vital benefits. So that is what we absolutely should not do.
That's scary to hear. I don't like the idea that some of our elected officials are trying to make closed door deals to, use Social Security and Medicare as bargaining chips, because they absolutely should not be. These are benefits that we all put into and that we have all earned. So I hate that. I think I know the answer to this, but what should people who are worried about, Social Security and Medicare being at risk do to ensure that they make it through, not as a bargaining chip, through these debt ceiling conversations and negotiations?
Yeah, so I encourage everyone to call your member of Congress, Republican or Democrat, and tell them that the only acceptable solution to this is a clean debt limit. And especially if they're Republican, remind them that this happened 3 times under Donald Trump. And if you have a chance, Google Problem Solver Caucus proposal. And if your rep is one of those, then please tell them that the absolute last thing that you want is any cuts to your earned Social Security and Medicare benefits.
Absolutely. I will be doing that. I think especially if you live in a red state or have a Republican representative or somebody who is on record being wishy-washy about the debt ceiling, please, please, please contact them. We need every voice heard for things like this to push the needle. And I promise you, they will hear you. I think, as we wrap up, it's important to note that the national debt is something that took 200 plus years to accumulate. This is not something that has happened in the past year of spending or anything like that. It has taken 200 plus years to accumulate. And Republicans' proposals will do nothing to, erase 200 years of spending. That's just not how it works. And so please, if you're able, be mindful of the media you're consuming. And if it seems fear-mongering and if it seems like it's confusing what the national debt actually means, take a second, pause, look for some other sources, because it's really easy to get trapped in the fear of, financial collapse or the fear of having this huge big ticket number as the national debt, when really it doesn't actually mean anything scary at all. It's what the United States has done for 200 years, and it's what we will continue to do because that's how countries work. But Linda, do you have any final thoughts on the debt ceiling before we wrap up?
Yeah, just one, is that what everyone should remember is that Republicans don't actually care about the debt. That's their excuse. What they really want to do is cut programs so that they can give more massive tax breaks to their billionaire donors on Wall Street.
100%, because if the debt was actually a problem, we would cut where the most spending is, which would be defense spending and, militarized spending. But
and tax breaks
that's a whole other, and tax breaks for the rich. And that's a whole other episode that we can get into talking about that. But yes, thank you so much, Linda. We're going to keep watching for the debt ceiling negotiations as they get closer and see what other crazy ideas Kevin McCarthy has. But thank you so much for joining us at Progress America Unfiltered for this quick little episode, and we will see you next time. Bye, everyone.